The ruling NP was enthusiastically applying both its apartheid jackboot and an uncompromising moral fervour. Hardline nationalist P.W. Botha had taken over from John Vorster as Prime Minister in October 1978, with the latter becoming state president until he was forced to resign a year later over the information scandal, an operation to use taxpayers' money to fund a newspaper, The Citizen, that favoured the government. Television had been introduced to the country in 1976 after years of being regarded as the devil's work, but it was aimed squarely at the white population, and the South African Broadcasting Corporation's news bulletins were little more than a propaganda channel for the ruling NP. Owning a Playboy magazine was a crime, with censorship laws forbidding material that depicted any sexual activity, lust, and licentiousness. Gambling was strictly outlawed. Of course, people found ways around some of this. Those with a taste for gambling would, for example, cross the borders into neighbouring countries with casinos. Some of those resorts contained movie houses where softball movies were shown and where more than a few South Africans were to be found. Members of Pravin Gordhan's by then well-established activist unit, called the Providence Unit for reasons that nobody seems quite sure about today, had other quite different reasons to get into Swaziland. From the mid-1970s, with security police activity increasing and many comrades rounded up at home and workplaces as much as places of protest, it soon became apparent that the only way to move forward with the struggle was to go underground. The 1982 Internal Security Act gave the state wide powers of control and coercion, including Section 29, which allowed for people to be detained indefinitely and interrogated using extreme methods of torture, such as solitary confinement. The arsenal of apartheid legislation was being aggressively deployed in just about every area of public life. There were the Group Areas Act, the Population Registration Act, the Reservation of Separate Amenities Act, the Bantu Education Act, the Natives Land Act, the Prohibition of Political Interference Act, and many, many more. The Prohibition of Mixed Marriages Act forbade marriage between Europeans and non-Europeans, while the Immorality Act closed a potential loophole by prohibiting extramarital sex between white people and those of other races. Most newspaper headlines routinely reflected two related phenomena of the time: bombings inside the country by the ANC's military wing MK, and retaliatory raids by the South African Defence Force into neighbouring countries. The ANC set up the Mandla Judson Kuzweyo unit to provide a channel with the structures of exile in Swaziland, to bring comrades out for training and instruction, and conversely, to bring ANC leaders information, strategy and tactics into apartheid South Africa. Yusuf Vauda, a prominent member of the Providence unit at the time, recalls, "We would be in touch with people like Ivan Pillay and Mac Maharaj outside the country, and, on the pretext of going to watch porno movies, we would make lots of trips to Swaziland to go and meet with them and exchange information." In 1977, sought by the police, Ivan Pillay, together with his brother Joe and others, had been forced to establish themselves in exile. Mac Maharaj, following instructions from the ANC, had left South Africa in that same year and was deployed by the organization in Lusaka, Zambia. Vauda remembers the late 1970s and early 1980s as a time when the unit was heavily involved in political propaganda and was also refining its strategy of mass mobilization. They were very interested in the work we were doing because the political organizations weren't able to do what we were able to do. So we would have a lot of exchanges, and they were very useful for us to get perspective on the forward area, which was sort of a supply station for people being infiltrated into the country. Maharaj, by then the secretary of the underground ANC, encouraged the forward area machineries to link up with the Providence unit to further both the political underground and mass mobilization. Maharaj says he had discussions with Gordhan about using community grievances to mobilize people. Communities should be encouraged to direct the protest to the municipality so that the municipality is forced to implement what is there in the legislation. Use that as a basis to get people into action and come out in support of the liberation struggle, says Maharaj.